Hello, I'm Christine with What's Up Cupcake Whimsical Crafts, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I do not live in a room of doors. These are closets. I'm in my office slash craft room, and the way my desk is situated, it's one closet. It just, you can run through them. My kids have done it many times, but I am excited to chat with you today about some of the things I've been doing this week, primarily just kind of whatever my heart desires, because I do not have a market for the next few weeks, months even. My next market is not until the end of August, and I am taking that time to really dive into market prep, to kind of refocus where I want to be for my business. I started this crochet craft business. I decided to go into it, I'd say, end of last July, and at that point I pretty much just dove right into making all of the crochet plushies that I could for my first market, which was end of October, I think. And so I haven't really had a chance to breathe, because in that time I've done at least a dozen markets, and in the fall, all of my markets, it was just trying to keep up with what was being made. And in this past spring season, I had a little bit of a break between each of the markets, but thankfully many of them were very successful, so I was doing a lot of replenishment. So I just want to share some of what I'm doing on my small business journey on this vlog, especially right now as I'm kind of looking at the approach of what I want to focus on going into the fall season, some of the new things I want to bring to my market setups. I also recently reopened my Etsy shop, and I am going to start replenishing items in it soon, like crochet plushies, but right now it does have amigurumi sticks, stitch markers, and I have a Shopify that has those items in some additional designs and safety eyes. And I'm just trying to figure out with the Shopify if that's something I want to lean into more versus Etsy. Etsy is hard, as you probably know. There is a huge amount of fees that they collect when people are purchasing on Etsy, but you get a lot of exposure that you wouldn't otherwise get unless you had like a solid fan base or just people knowing about your products already. So trying to figure that out. I also came up with a probably very unrealistic list of things that I want to replenish for my fall markets. I would share a actual like in-depth picture of this list, but there's things in here that I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to do that. But again, I really just want to make some new and fun things right now, because I have been pretty solid in the assortment that I've had since I started my markets. I have like very base items like chickens and loaf cats. And when I introduce more unique things or bigger items or just whimsical items, they do really well. So I want to lean into that. There's a deer running through my yard, so I'm just watching that out of the corner of my eye. So anyways, I have a lot of things I want to do right now in this season. In today's video, I want to share some of the makes I've made around tester calls. I had 2 tester calls that I was completing this week, so I'm very excited to share those projects and how they turned out. I have some order packing, and also packing the giveaway that I did on my Instagram recently, because I did my shop launch for my amigurumi sticks, my safety eyes, and stitch markers, both on Shopify and Etsy. And so I had a giveaway on Instagram, and I had 2 winners of 2 different kits. So I'm going to share those being packed up so you can see what they won. And I just love packing videos. Also, I have a yarn restock. I had to get more Elise Veludo because I had made a massive yarn purchase a few months ago when I first tried out Elise Veludo, and it was great. I just completely leaned in and stocked up on a huge amount because I knew I was doing a lot of markets and things like that coming up. And just given that you're ordering it from Turkey, it takes a little bit longer to get here. I want to make sure I had what I needed. So I did a massive like initial inventory order to get myself to where I needed to be. And thankfully, I went through a huge amount of that inventory, but I realized I was running out of certain colors and couldn't make certain things because I was out of those colors. In some instances, I had ordered just one or two of the colors originally because I wasn't sure what I was going to make with them or what would be kind of their go-to item patterns that they turned into. I don't know how to say that. And then I found something, like, for example, I've been making a lot of Stitch dolls from Lilo and Stitch, and I found a good combination of the blues needed for that, and I had enough to make one Stitch. So I had to order more of them, especially with the movie coming out. I really want to make more. And yeah, I just wanted to have it readily available. So I'll share details on that. And then I just had a bunch of other fun makes that I made this week. I went into this week with the intent to make just completely new to me patterns. So these were all patterns I probably had in my pattern stash because I have a hard time saying no to a new pattern. If I see one and I think, ooh, that's pretty, I want to make that, or that's really cute, whatever, I get it. And then a few new patterns have been released recently, so same situation. So I want to share those patterns. And also, again, as I mentioned, I want to reevaluate some of what I've been making in my markets already. One of my best selling items, so this might be a silly strategy, but the loaf cat, it's a hit with every market, but everyone in this area pretty much makes it. So I'm kind of just playing around if I want to continue with the loaf cat as it stands, or if I might want to try a different variation of it. We'll see. So I'm just testing the waters of that and playing with a few different loaf cat options or similar cat options. And one other update I want to give is I realized after my last market recap video, so I had a market last weekend and I did a recap. It was a great market, very successful, and a great way to kind of end the spring season. I never spoke about the Gachapon machine or that I added to that market, but I was very excited about introducing this Gachapon machine, and I never spoke about how it went. So I'll share that while we're on that topic then. The Gachapon machine I had put right at my checkout stand at my booth because the machine itself, I purchased it from Amazon. It's really great. It's like an official Bandai product. So they are like the maker of Gachapon machines, or one of the premier makers of Gachapon machines in Japan. If you don't know what that is, it is not Japan, obviously, the Gachapon machine. If you don't know what a Gachapon machine is, it's basically one of those machines where growing up, you put in a quarter and turn the knob, and a little like plastic capsule comes out with a sticker or a trinket or something like that. So I got one of the Gachapon machines as an alternative to, again, I see a lot of like claw machines and things like that, which are really cool. And I think that it's a great way to draw people into your market. I just don't want to deal with claw machines because personally, I don't like them. Like, I don't like to play them. They stress me out. Um, the whole like it's picking something up and then, oh, it let go. Like, my anxiety can't handle that. So, and I'm impatient and I just want to like grab it. So anyways, I decided to go the Gachapon machine route. When I received it, in my head, the idea of like what a 2-inch capsule was very off from what I actually like crocheted. So I ended up making very small little bag charms, and they were little rubber duckies dressed as frogs, as crabs, or there was a little turtle. And I had corresponding little plastic resin charms on them. They had really nice little clips. They're just very cute. And I was excited to bring the Gachapon machine to this market. The machine came with 4 tokens, and that's it. You could theoretically use a quarter, I've read, but I don't know. I didn't want to risk it. And on top of that, I'm not charging a quarter for a crochet plushie that I made. So I made a sign for it that said $7 per token, and you immediately get to play that token and see what you win in the machine. There's a little drawer at the back of the machine where the tokens immediately go, so I can just slide it open, pull a token out, hand it to someone, and repeat. But I didn't want to have to like move away from where my checkout stand was to do that. So I needed to make it convenient. So it was right at my checkout stand, and it got a ton of attention. I think the challenge with it was I didn't have a super clear photo of what was inside the machine on it. Like I knew what it was in the picture because I made it. But I think as like someone passing by and looking, they were kind of like trying to look into it, trying to look at like the capsules, but the majority of the capsules were completely solid, so you couldn't see inside them. And I think that just put some people off, mainly kids. They wanted to know what they were getting, which is surprising because mystery boxes do so well for me. So, I would try to describe it. Who did enjoy it? Adults. I think everyone that ended up buying from it was an adult. And most of them wanted a turtle, or they wanted the rubber ducky with the frog hat. But like that, they would say, oh, I'm going to try and get this. So yeah, it was just really fun because they would kind of commit to it, and I'd get them their token and they'd spin it, and it was usually like a couple of adults were together, so it was like this whole group experience of opening this little capsule. And I think actually 2 of them were turtles and 1 was a frog, and there might have been another one, but like they were overjoyed when they got it. It was just fun to see their reactions. And I think it was a great debut for the item. I am going to put a better picture on the machine to show what is in the capsules. And I do have capsules that are half solid base, half clear top. I'll probably just use those instead of the ones that came with it that are just solid, to make it a little bit easier for people to see what they could potentially get and like to envision it. So yeah, very excited with the Gachapon machine, and it gives me a little bit more time now to kind of refine that process, since my next market's in August. But moving on to the tester calls that I did this week. So I had 2 tester calls, and both of them were for plant type items, a variation of a plant. And each time there was an assortment of plants, and I was assigned one to test with the option like I could test more than that. So first off, let me introduce, this is the tulip that I made from Minnie's Crochet Friends, and the lily. I was assigned the tulip, and I love tulips, so I was very happy with that. And then again, we had the lily pattern provided as well, and the tulip whipped up just so fast and so easily that I decided to make the lily too. She actually has a couple of videos within the link in order to do some of the more unique work around the actual flower petals themselves in order to make them stand out the way they do. And I don't normally click on links for videos in patterns, just because, again, I'm impatient, and if I can figure it out from reading the pattern, then I do. But in addition to the videos, you didn't have to watch the video. She had step-by-step photos breaking it down as well, so I appreciated how clear it was. But once I watched the video, it just like light bulb went on. Oh, that's like what you have to do when you're doing this. And so I made the tulip watching the videos, and then I was able to make the lily because it was a similar technique without having to watch them. So I really like how these look. I have a space in my booth for like a flower stand, and I have individual stem flowers, I have potted plants, and I have the little poppers from Cable and Canvas, I think. Um, it's a Hoya popper and a prickly pear, and they're both like cactus type items. So those do well at my markets, especially in drawing people in, because it's just very colorful, and it's just nice to see like a bright spot of flowers on a table, even if they're made out of yarn. So I was very excited to be a tester for this. I do have several minis crochet friends already that I keep in stock at my booth and in my store. So to be able to add a tulip to that, and lily, tulip especially, again, being one of my favorite flowers. So the next item that I got to test, again, keeping with the plant theme, this is from Pandy's Crochet, and it is a little cinnarole, like a Sanrio friend plant pot. And I love how it turned out. I am not crazy about working with felt, which you wouldn't know based on the amount of felt stuff I'm currently doing as part of my regular inventory, but especially doing like different colors to this extent, I was just thankful I had these colors on hand. But like the mouth for cinnarole is a very distinct shape, and cutting this tiny little thing out was a challenge, but I think it turned out great. And honestly, I'm at the point where if I know that I'm going to have to do something like this, I try to do it in multiples. So while I cut these out, I went ahead and cut out a second set so that I could easily make this pattern again. But this pattern was a super quick and easy make. I have already made some patterns by Pandy Crochets before. They have some free patterns on their Instagram of Totoro and No Face and Gigi from Studio Ghibli, and I love them and have them in my booth as like a regular item. So I was very excited for cinnarole. And with this pattern, there's also, oh, I'm going to forget the character names. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to be able to remember the characters. Pachaco? And one other that I'm actually not very familiar with. I don't know that it was around when I was a kid. I was very into the little twin stars when I was a kid, and honestly, even now, I love the little twin stars and Hello Kitty in general. And then I was a fan of like some of the characters that don't exist anymore. Roly Poly Moly. He was cute. He was a little French mole that wore a beret. And yeah, so there's like some characters that just weren't my thing when I was a kid, but I still think they're really cute. I think Sanrio as a whole is really fun. So I had Googled, and Cinnarole is actually the most popular of the characters as of 2025. Each year it's a different one. I think 2024 it was Cinnarole too, but it looks like Cinnarole's still keeping that title. But again, I just really like Sanrio as a whole, so I was excited to test that. And I actually probably will make Pachaco next. I guess I'll make the other character too. Again, I don't know who it is, but I think it's like the second most popular one. Yeah, kids these days. Okay, so those were my tester calls. With all of the things I'm talking about today, I will include links to the patterns or pattern designers. Cinnarole is not out yet. It actually, I don't think comes out for another week unless the testers finish up early, and then she might release it. But I will link to the testers in that instance, and then you can follow them and track when the pattern is coming out. But in my description for my videos, I have the links listed for each of the patterns that I use. If you ever find that one is missing or you can't locate it, I might have put it under a different name, like the name of the bundle that it's in or whatever the case might be. So just drop a comment and I'm happy to let you know where the pattern is or update the file if I need to. So yeah, let's get into some other makes that I made this week. I actually made this one last night. I was watching Granny by Nature, Maddie and Janet. We are our crochet besties. virtual, never met, but we just like commenting on each other's videos. And so I was watching their video while I was working on this little Stitch in a frog costume. How cute is he? Again, with the movie coming out, I just really wanted to do um, more items that were Stitch related. I forgot to put the eyes. It's just like a black Stitch, so I'll put that in right after this. But he came out really cute. He took a while to make because all of these pieces are sewn in and crocheted separately. But also, I think that was because I was chatting in their live stream and wasn't 100% focused on the pattern. So, um, again, felt eyes. I am not a fan of working with felt because I am very finicky about like cutting out the pieces to be the right size and the right shape. And I just keep trimming and trimming, and then I have to do it over because I've cut off a piece that was very important. So I keep doing items with felt pieces though, because Stitch always has felt eyes because of the unique shape of them and just, situations like that. But if you haven't seen Lilo and Stitch or it's been a while, there is a reoccurring little character in the movie of a frog that he meets when he first comes to Earth. And so I love anything with Stitch and a frog. And at the end of this month, there is a live action Lilo and Stitch movie coming out, and I'm so excited. I have seen the trailers for it and it looks so cute. But the hood comes off too. It's just a really cute pattern and very fun and a just unique take on Lilo and Stitch. I used Premier Parfait for this, and yeah, it just came together really nicely, aside from taking a bit of time. But again, I think that was more so my fault for multitasking while making him. So the maker for this one is Sunny Princess. And again, everything will be linked below. Some of the other makes that I made this week, again, all new to me. I made Duffy the Dino by Sia and Penn. I had not made any dinos in all of the time of having my shop until this week. I have wanted to, I've had kids ask for them. Just by the time I have gotten home from a market, I'm back into replenishing what I already had. And I have a handful of dinosaur patterns that I've purchased and just never made. And so I wouldn't know, like, will this take too long? Or how big will it be? Or whatever. So I would just tell myself that I would work on it once I had a lull. So Duffy the Dino by Sia and Penn. This one is so cute. It is one of the dinosaur patterns that I immediately jumped on and bought when I saw it because I just am like a little picky about the dinosaur options out there too. There are quite a few of them, and I wanted something that was a little bit unique from, the regular dinosaur that you might see. And this one fit the bill. So I want to make it in a rainbow variety of colors and designs, and it will be a nice little small item for my booth. I'm guessing it'll probably be like $16. Again, you do sew on the feet and the arms, and then you stitch this onto the body. Oh, you also sew on the tail. So there's a lot of sewing, but it does come together fast. You have to do some face shaping. I just think he's really cute. Very happy with how he turned out. Next item on the same theme of dinos, it is Crochet Grove's little baby brontosaurus, mini brontosaurus pattern. Again, she just came out with this and I saw it and immediately purchased it because it looked so cute and I didn't want to make a giant dinosaur. I have very limited space on my table because I keep taking on new patterns and large patterns and projects. And so being that I'm like just dipping my toe into the waters of dinosaurs, I decided to make this little one. And I love, love, love him. There's also an option to put a spot on it, but I didn't want to because I just liked him as he is. I'll probably put the pink on his cheeks or her. But I just think it's so cute. And I love the way that this came together. Crochet Grove has like the coolest setups for the foundation of her patterns. Like I have done the rubber ducky in an inner tube, the bunny in an inner tube. I've done her doll patterns. Like it's just a very thoughtful and like unique way that a lot of her pieces come together, and this was no exception. It was very fun to make. I definitely think it would be a good item to batch make. You could just make all the legs, put them aside, make the heads, but from that, you pretty much build it up. And I think it's really cool how it comes out and the way that it stands. So this is Crochet Grove's Baby Brontosaurus pattern and is one of my favorite makes this week. I would be lying though if I said that was my favorite make this week, because look at this pigeon. He is so cute. This is from All From Jade, and it's like the little couch brigade kind of chonky birds that are just very like kind of squishy. It has pellet beads in it, which I use pellet beads quite a bit in my crochet works to just give items a little bit more substance. But the way that she uses them, it's more in like a squishy kind of, I don't know, more pliable way, I guess you could say. But the way that the yarn is structured, this yarn, it's Premier Parfait, but I think this gray that I had just is a little stiffer. Sometimes it happens that the skein you're working with or the batch has a different feel to it. And this one is just a little bit stiffer in terms of its construction. And so it doesn't quite get as slouchy as her videos display, but I think it looks amazing and I want to make so many of them. The pattern bundle comes with like a chicken, a duck, a few other birds, but this one was the one that I just really wanted to make. And I didn't have a pigeon before this, and this is definitely like my go-to pigeon pattern now. I'm guessing I'd probably sell it for like 20 bucks though, because it is pretty time consuming and it does have a lot of like color changes and stuff, and it has the hand painted safety eyes. I picked some eyes I painted in like a purplish tone to kind of go with these colors, but I don't know. Hopefully I'll have a little flock of these at my next booth because they're just really cute. So, All From Jade. I have a bunch of her patterns that have been in my to make collection. I love her work. I think it's just very unique and oftentimes just very colorful and creative. I just haven't had time to take them on, so I am doing that now. As I mentioned before, I am working on finding some alternatives to loaf cats, and this one is, I mean, it's similar enough, but it's a splooting cat. So it's like legs and paws are kind of spread out. The face, this is supposed to stand out a little bit more. I read the pattern wrong and did the wrong kind of bauble that was requested for the design of the face, but I still think it came out really cute. And I'm definitely going to give it another go. It is still a time consuming pattern, and that's part of the challenge I find with the loaf cats. The larger ones just take so much time to make that I just don't feel like I'm charging the right price, but I don't want to overcharge. So I was making the small ones and those were doing well. But again, I just think that there's a lot of loaf cats out there. So I don't know if this is different enough, but it still meets the requirements of being a pretty straightforward pattern where I could see myself like being able to memorize this at some point and easily crank them out. But I do think it's a cute option. So we'll see. I'm going to try a few other cat patterns. This one is by Green Frog Crochet on Instagram. And yeah, very cute, very fun. Also comes in some different color variations and spots. My last makes for this week were these little adorable roly-poly bears. So I made the panda and just a brown bear, and it's the baby animal, adorable baby animal pattern bundle. There's a koala and a couple other options within this, but I think that they came out very easy and cute. I am drawing a blank on the name of the designer, but I will put it on the screen. But they came up very fast, and I think could be a really cute item on the table for just one of these smaller makes. They don't have to charge as much for. So when people are, shopping with allowance money or whatever, just some spending money for kids, that these could be a good item for it. I probably charge maybe $12. I don't know. I need to make up a few more to decide, but I'm definitely going to make up the other designs. It's just lots of like little bobbly arms on these. So very cute. I'm very happy with how they turned out. I have another fun update that I've been working on this week, and it's a little different, still crafty, but different from my normal medium of choice, yarn. My day job, I work in downtown Raleigh, and I work with some very, very smart people, and they can be very creative. We actually have a market every November where people that work for the company that also are makers or might have side gigs of crafting things can come in and set up a craft space. And it was, I think, maybe one of my most successful markets, if not the most successful market that I did last fall. And even better, there's no fee to vend at it. So that was fantastic. But that being said, I discovered that they have a whole room full of 3D printers in my building. How this happened, there was a group chat where for our office, and someone said, hey, does anyone like to organize? Because we could use some help organizing our 3D print lab. We love doing the 3D printing aspect of it. We do not love organizing. And I was like, I love to organize. I love me a list, and sure, sign me up. But can you teach me how to 3D print? So as a matter of fact, they said yes, they would love for more people to 3D print. So I went and I organized all the different filaments of the 3D printer lab. And they basically just have a collection of 3D printers that people started out with. Maybe one broke and they said maybe someone here can fix it, and someone could. And so they've just built up this collection of 3D printers. They currently have, I think, 7 that work, and they have a handful on a different floor that are being repaired or kind of built up further. I don't know how they do that. It has nothing to do with what I do for my day job. I just work with a bunch of engineers, and this is what they like to do in their free time. So as a result, they showed me how to use the 3D printers. And so I've had a couple tutorials now. The first item that I printed was actually a little cupcake, obviously, but it was a little like keychain screw top container, so I can put like my little notions in there, stitch markers, things like that. It's very cute. It was just done in green filament because that was what was on hand. So I might paint it, but it's just a nice little piece to kind of commemorate my first 3D print. But as a result of that print, I had enough knowledge to be dangerous, and I decided I wanted to make something bigger. One of the things that's pretty cool about 3D printing is there's just a ton of free patterns or designs out there. I don't know if you call it a pattern. I'm just used to calling it that from crochet. But there are so many resources to locate free patterns, and you can purchase designs and patterns too. But just from a preliminary search of just various keywords, I found so many things that I wanted to print. So I made my next item, which is a Totoro phone stand. So if you know Studio Ghibli, this is Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, and you put your phone here. I am so happy with how this turned out. I set it up to print at lunchtime one day, and it was going to be like 8 or 9 hours. So I came back the next day and picked it up. It's so cute. I'm going to paint it so it's going to be the right colors, because again, this was just the gray filament that they had. We actually don't have any printers at the office that can do multiple colors, which is fine. I can print things myself or paint things myself, but I think it just is so cool, and I just can't wait to play with more stuff. I am by no means going to become a 3D printing business. But I do want to make just some fun little designs and trinkets and knickknacks. Probably things to help my market booth, like some display stands, pricing displays. Again, there's so many options to make 3D printed items. I will also probably print some things like stitch markers and stuff like that to throw into my packages and orders as freebies. I'm just very excited by the possibilities of this, and it's a fun little hobby that I'm going to start dabbling in. And I'm very thankful for the people at my office that are helping me to kind of navigate this, because it is fun and I just like taking on new crafts because I'm a squirrel like that. Onto my yarn restock. So as I mentioned, I had a large yarn restock of Elise Veludo from Hobby Shoppy. They are in Turkey. I have a link to their store. I think you get a discount if you use the link. It's the Canva site on or within my description. But they're just a great price for the yarn. I think it's $2.90 a skein, and the skeins aren't huge. Here's one. It's probably half the amount. It's same size as like a Premier Parfait bundle, but it's a thicker yarn, so it's probably half the amount of yarn. But at $2.90, especially then if you have any promos, there's free shipping, I think at $90 or $89. So you can really kind of get this yarn at a reasonable price. It is the softest yarn. It is such a pleasure to work with. I started crocheting with Bernat blanket yarn, and it can, if you work with it, it can be hit or miss. You don't know if you're going to get one that's harder to work with, that's rougher, if it's going to be super plush, if it's going to be a little thinner. That's just my biggest gripe with Bernat. I do like overall the options that they have in terms of colorways and variegated yarns and so on, but the consistency of what you're working with, and as a result, it can be kind of sticky when you're working with it. Like it just can be harder on your hands and wrists from the way the yarn is set up, and it just makes it less enjoyable to work with. But this, like, oh, it's my favorite. I love making bigger items from this because it's just very satisfying to work with, and it has some great colors. This is actually going to be a scrump from Lilo and Stitch. It's like the perfect color for scrump. It is color 837. But anyways, I did get a haul of Elise Veludo, so enjoy that little video footage. They always ship it in like a vacuum sealed container, and so be careful when you're opening it. I use my little ceramic box opener to open them, but one little nick in the bag and it just expands. And yes, it comes very compact and without air in it, but it gets that life back in it very quickly. So I also got a couple of skeins of like variegated colors in worsted weight, I think, yarn to do some more Kindle covers and cup sleeves.
You, I know that we just met, but this feels so cool. Ooh. Your tattoo tells me everything I need to know about you. No need to fake it. You and me got a thing, babe. I think we should face it, don't you? Do you wanna get out of here? Just put your hand in mine, let's disappear. We can lose the crowd right now if you wanna get out of here. The destination don't need to be clear. Hey, do you wanna get out of here? Do you wanna get out of here?
go on ahead to the footage from the order packing that I recently did and the packing of the items that were prizes from my giveaway. Do a shout out this week. I like to do shout outs on my kind of weekly makes or crochet along vlog-ish content of other creators or small businesses that I really enjoy or that I watched while I was crafting over the week. And this week I just wanted to do a shout out for Mimi Makes Crochet. I love her videos. Mimi just seems like such a lovely human. She's located in Florida and she always has these fun, sweet videos of unique plushies that she is also making and selling in markets. She does a lot of market recaps. She has her grandson that is with her constantly, and it seems like a gaggle of cats, which I'm here for cat content. So she has a new little kitten named Ollie. So Ollie was in her last video, as was her grandson, who is a toddler and was just so adorable to hear kind of doing his thing and babbling and I don't miss those days with my kids. My kids are now 10 and 12 years old, and I am thankful I can have full conversations with them sometimes. Sometimes I'd rather not, but um, it's just fun to hear and just remember like how things were at that stage. So, hi Mimi, thank you for the wonderful video that you posted last week that I was able to watch while I was doing some of my makes. Aside from that, I'll just shout out Granny by Nature because, again, they kept me company while I was working on my frog stitch cosplay pattern, and it was just really fun chatting with them last night. It's weird doing YouTube lives. I don't love doing them because I feel like I'm just talking to myself, but I think they do a great job of them because there's two of them, first of all, so they have their uh, chat back and forth, but they're really good at going through what's happening in the feed of comments and just having kind of a conversation based off of that. So it was lovely hanging out with them on my Thursday night. But aside from that, just going to have a quiet weekend. It is Mother's Day weekend in North America and some other parts of the world. I know that it is celebrated in the United States this weekend. I think Canada also has a different Mother's Day, but I'm just going to have a fun, low-key weekend with some girlfriends. I have a tradition of every Mother's Day, I go camping. We are in North Carolina, in Raleigh, and are very lucky to be near to several different woodsy lake locations within minutes of my home. So um, in Raleigh, it, if you didn't know, also has the nickname of City of Oaks. So there was a lot of greenery here, and I am very close to a few different campgrounds, and one of them is just 15 minutes from my house. So we usually get a couple spots, and ideally they're lakefront spots because it's fairly easy to get if you're on top of the booking for it. But I have a shared site with a couple of my girlfriends, and we will go hang out there this weekend. Our kids will probably stop by to do some fishing and hang out for a little bit, but generally it's kind of a decompression weekend for the moms. And then we come back home on Sunday morning, so we still get Mother's Day with our families, but it's just nice to have a couple nights hanging out and relaxing. So that's what I will be doing this weekend. But of course, I will be bringing yarn and some projects, and I cannot wait to just get outside and relax in some quiet with a book, maybe an audio book, and some yarn. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you for joining me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and this channel, because I will continue to have lots of updates as I get ready for my big fall market season. If you made it this far, please share what you were working on and or what you have been consuming as you work on your projects. Is it solely YouTube videos? Are you going through any good books or TV shows? I just love the updates that you all give, and I've gotten some great book and TV show recommendations as a result. I'm not great at watching TV because I end up going through YouTube or listening to audiobooks, but when I do get on a kick, I will like binge watch a show like it's nobody's business. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.